few years ago, I read this book called Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers by Robert Sapolsky, and it started to make me think about like what is emotional metabolism, because in the book he's talking about the stress response. He goes into a lot of details. There's a lot of subtext in there. If you're like a science nerd like me and you want to like really get down to the nitty gritty, this is like, his books are great for you. But he talked about like even chess players, and I'm pretty sure it is in this book and not his book Behave, that he's talking about this. So sorry if I'm confusing the two, but I do remember him talking about how chess players, because they have to be so strategic in their movements and think forward with that, it causes a lot of anxiety, and that increases the rate of cortisol production, which increases the rate of calorie expenditure and basically mineral depletion. So that is like the facet of the emotional metabolism. When we are stressed, in a state of stress and elevated cortisol, we are depleting, the body is depleting itself of nutrients at a very high rate. And most people are in this state. So that's why I'm always talking about amino and fatty acids, making sure you get plenty of nutrients in, because a lot of us are stuck in this chronic overstimulation of our emotional metabolism. So in this period of time, this book found me, of course, at just the right moment of my life, because I was very anxious and stressed about the future. This was right when I graduated from college and I wasn't sure what I was going to do with my life. So very existential time period for myself. I was very anxious about the future, and I was also anxious about the past as well, and just questioning like the path that I was on. And I guess I was having like a life crisis. Like most people have life crisis, it just happens to us because living on earth is a challenge. But so anyway, I was reading this book at the perfect right time, and I started to think about that, how can I be more in the present moment? There's something like mental health and everything that's going on is such a subjective case. That's what they say. It's very subjective, mental health. I can't tell you what you're feeling, only you know what you're feeling. But when we experience depression or anxiety, we are also having an objective response to that. So our cortisol is rising, and when our cortisol rises, what we know about that is that our blood sugar elevates, and certain hormones and genetic switches occur that we know about now. I think it's so cool that we know about this. Like, I think about, there's a hunger hormone, ghrelin, which we only just discovered like either in the late 1990s or the early 2000s. And like for me, just looking at that time period, that's like, I can't believe we just discovered this hormone here. Like, it's so crazy that we're discovering things about the body and about the brain. So emotional metabolism is something to really work on. Like, it's not all about you going to the gym and doing that, those things helps. Like, it always helps to be consistent with your mineral intake and your movement. It always helps. But I always, at the time period that I was thinking about this, and even just a few months ago for myself, it was, Rachel, you can't outrun this, you can't get away from this increased emotional output. You can't get away from this stress of what you're emotionally feeling. So, put down your burdens, relax yourself. Like, when is it during this time of day that you are being hit with this stress? Like, what is going on? And I always talk about how now I try to wake up early in the morning and regulate my circadian rhythm, regulate my blood sugar, so that during the day I'm giving my biochemistry like a fighting chance. I talked about years ago, like I started waking up and making my bed in the morning, because I found out that as soon as you get done something, your body secretes dopamine, right? When you go in the sun, your body secretes serotonin and dopamine, and starts breaking everything down. And it's super cool if you think about things this way. And so I had to think about, where is my emotional metabolism at? Like, I'm going to the gym and I'm eating the good foods and I'm doing physically what I can do, but where are you at spiritually? Where is your spiritual metabolism at? So that was, what are these thoughts that are coming up that are making me anxious about the future, or where I'm going? And a lot of times it was first thing in the morning. Like, I was being put in the stress response, in the fight or flight. So if this is you and you are struggling with this, like, my heart goes out to you. And this is something I'm constantly working on as well. So if I'm trying to do something in the morning, like, I try to move or I try to read, but sometimes my thoughts are like like I read a page and like I've got nothing in, like my mind is like pulling me to something else, like think about this here, like this is what you're stressed about. And so, then I just take a moment to relax my body and just be like, you don't have anywhere to go, you don't have anywhere to be, anything to be stressed about. Like you're on the right path, keep moving forward. So the Robert Sapolsky books were amazing. They changed my life. I think both of them took me about a year to read. Like I carried Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers around and Behave around for at least a year. It took me a year to digest those books. And my sister would tease me. She'd be like, "You always have your book everywhere." Well, I'm like, just in case, you never know when you're gonna read. And sometimes I just carry the book around because I hope that the words will just seep into me by proximity. So, a lot of people are like, "How do you read all that?" But I just bring the books around with me, and I just hope for the best. Try to read a little bit at a time, one page at a time, just like one day at a time. And getting in your circadian rhythm is the best way to regulate your emotional metabolism, and also anything that can keep your blood sugar at a steady state. So that's why I'm a big fan of animal-based proteins, because it tends to keep your body, your blood sugar at a very homeostatic pace. I like things like apple cider vinegar. I like things like weight training and movement because, again, objectively being in the present moment as a subjective experience also, I believe, has an objective placement to it too. The physical always meets the spiritual. So how can I stay at the midline of my blood sugar? How can I stay in a place of autonomy and regulation in that present moment? And it's all about like where your nervous system is. Your nervous system is designed for peace. We call it a nervous system, but I definitely think it's designed for peace. So if you're on the pathway to peace, I wish you the best of luck. Make sure you get all your amino and your fatty acids, and that you are exposing your body to light at the certain time periods that are appropriate for that. So like blocking blue light late at night, so that you're not squashing your melatonin, and so that the body and the immune system can come out and repair itself at night. So, I recommend that book. Recommend you check out Robert Sapolsky. He has his lectures free on YouTube too. Great laugh, lots of passion from that man. And yeah, as always, good luck.